Most people go through life without ever holding themselves truly accountable. They blame their circumstances, their upbringing, their environment, everything but themselves. It's always someone else's fault, always some outside force keeping them down. That's the biggest lie they tell themselves, because deep down, they know the truth. The only person responsible for their success or failure is the one staring back at them in the mirror. But that's a hard truth to face. So they avoid it. They make excuses. They point fingers. They justify their lack of action. They surround themselves with people who enable their weakness, who tell them it's okay to settle, who validate their excuses. And before they know it, they've built a life where accountability doesn't exist, where mediocrity is acceptable, where the bare minimum feels like enough. When the final moment comes, when there's no more time left, the truth will be impossible to ignore. There won't be anyone else to blame, no more distractions, no more lies to hide behind. It will just be them and the reality of how they live. The version of themselves they could have been will stand in front of them, and they'll have to answer one question. Did they do everything they could have done? Most won't like the answer. Most will have to admit they wasted time, that they didn't push hard enough, that they left so much potential untapped. That moment will be brutal because there's no way to escape it. No words will change it. No regrets will reverse it. It will be too late to go back, too late to fix it, too late to become the person they were meant to be. True accountability is rare because it requires complete honesty. It means looking at every mistake, every weakness, every missed opportunity, and owning it fully. It means admitting that no one is coming to save them, that no one is responsible for their success except them. Most people aren't willing to do that because it's uncomfortable. It forces them to acknowledge that they've been in their own way the entire time. But the few who take full responsibility for their lives are the ones who rise above the rest. They don't hide from their flaws, they attack them. They don't sugarcoat their failures, they learn from them. They don't wait for permission, they take action. They don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves because they understand that every second spent on self-pity is a second stolen from progress. Accountability is not about guilt or shame, it's about power. It's about recognizing that as long as they are breathing, they have the ability to change, to improve, to push forward. No matter how far behind they think they are, they can still fight, still level up, still rewrite their story. But none of that happens without brutal self-reflection. That's why most people stay stuck. They don't want to face themselves. They want to admit that they've been playing small. They want the illusion that their struggles are beyond their control, that life is unfair, that they are victims of circumstance. That mindset is the real enemy. It keeps them weak, keeps them passive, keeps them waiting for something that will never come. The strongest people in the world understand this and refuse to let it control them. Excuses are easy, and that's why most people choose them. They are the shortcut to feeling okay with doing nothing. They make failure seem acceptable, make quitting seem reasonable, make weakness seem justified. But excuses don't change reality. They don't make someone stronger, don't push them forward, don't build anything. Every excuse is a step further from success, further from growth, further from becoming who they were meant to be. The world doesn't care about excuses, it only recognizes results. The ones who make it to the highest level aren't the ones who had the easiest path. They're the ones who refuse to let their obstacles define them. They didn't waste time blaming others. They didn't wait for better conditions. They didn't sit around hoping for things to get easier. They held themselves accountable and did what needed to be done. Most people talk about their goals, but talk is worthless without action. They say they want success. They say they want to be great. They say they want more out of life. But when it's time to do the work, they disappear. They let distractions take over, let laziness win, let doubt control their choices, and yet they still expect results. They expect to win without effort. They expect to grow without suffering. expect to reach the top without sacrifice. That's why they stay in the same place year after year. They refuse to take full responsibility for their actions, refuse to acknowledge that they are exactly where they deserve to be based on the work they've put in. Until that changes, nothing else will. They will remain stuck in a cycle of disappointment, frustration, and regret. The only way to break that cycle is to stop lying to themselves. Stop pretending they're doing their best when they know they aren't. Stop making excuses for why they haven't reached their goals. Stop acting like they don't have the time, the ability, or the opportunity. Everyone has the same 24 hours, the same ability to put in effort, the same choice to either push forward or stay stagnant. It all comes down to priorities, to discipline, to the willingness to hold themselves to a higher standard. The ones who achieve the most don't have some secret advantage. They just refuse to tolerate weakness in themselves. They hold themselves to an unbreakable standard, and they never lower it, no matter what. Every day is a test, and most people fail it without even realizing it. They fail when they hit snooze instead of getting up. They fail when they take shortcuts instead of doing things the right way. They fail when they let their emotions dictate their actions instead of sticking to their plan, and over time, those small failures add up, creating a life of missed opportunities, of unrealized potential, of dreams that never became reality. The strongest people understand that every moment matters. Every decision, no matter how small, either moves them closer to their goals or further away. There is no in between. There is no neutral ground. They either win the battle against themselves every day or they lose it. Looking in the mirror and being brutally honest is one of the hardest things to do, but it's also the most necessary. Most people don't want to admit that they're not putting in enough effort, that they're not disciplined enough, that they're making excuses. But avoiding the truth doesn't change it. It just delays progress, keeps them stuck, keeps them weak. The only way to change is to face the truth head on, no matter how painful it is. To admit every mistake, every failure, every moment they could have done better. And instead of dwelling on it, using it as fuel to become better. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because time doesn't wait, and neither should they. Success isn't about luck, and it's not about talent. It's about choices. It's about taking full ownership of every action, every failure, every decision. It's about refusing to let excuses dictate the outcome. The ones who reach the highest level aren't the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who took responsibility for every part of their journey. No blaming, no complaining, no waiting, just action, just discipline, just relentless accountability. And while most will continue to make excuses, continue to avoid the hard truth, continue to settle for less, the few who embrace accountability will keep pushing forward, keep rising, keep proving that nothing can stop them. Most people live their lives in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. They let that fear control them, dictate their choices, and limit their potential. They stay in their comfort zones, convincing themselves that they're playing it safe, when in reality, they're just avoiding the risk of discomfort. Fear is a liar, manipulator, a thief that steals dreams before they even have a chance to become real. It whispers doubts, plants insecurities. It makes people believe that they're not capable of more. And because they listen to it, they stay stuck. They don't take the chance they should. They don't push themselves beyond their limits. They settle for a life that is far smaller than the one they were meant to live. The truth is, fear never really goes away. It doesn't matter how strong, successful, or disciplined someone is, fear is always there, waiting for the right moment to strike. It's in the hesitation before taking a risk. It's in the voice that says, "What if you fail?" It's in the feeling of doubt before stepping into the unknown. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to act in spite of it. Fear only has power over those who listen to it, who give into it, who let it stop them from taking action. But the ones who refuse to back down, who push forward no matter how scared they are, those are the ones who rise above it. Fear creates an illusion of safety, making people believe that avoiding risk is the best way to protect themselves. But playing it safe is the fastest way to lose. It's the slowest form of failure, the kind that happens quietly over time until one day they wake up and realize they wasted their potential. Every opportunity avoided, every challenge backed away from, every goal abandoned because it seemed too hard. It all adds up. And by the time they realize what they've lost, it's too late to get it back. The biggest regrets in life don't come from the things people tried and failed at. They come from the things they were too afraid to try at all. The chances they never took, the dreams they let slip away. The only way to defeat fear is to face it head on. It has to be challenged, tested, and pushed against every single day. The more someone confronts fear, the weaker it becomes. But the opposite is also true. The more they avoid it, the stronger it grows. Every time they back down, they reinforce the habit of fear. They train themselves to retreat, to hesitate, to let doubt control their decision. And before they know it, fear is running their life. It's dictating what they can and can't do. It's setting the limits of their potential. But those limits aren't real. They only exist because fear created them, and they will stay there until they are destroyed. Fear is nothing more than a mental barrier, a trick of the mind designed to keep people in place. It serves no real purpose other than to test how badly they want something. It asks the question, how far are you willing to go? Most people answer by turning back, by giving in, by taking the easy way out. But the strongest, the ones who refuse to let fear dictate their lives, answer differently. They push through not because they don't feel fear, but because they refuse to be controlled by it. They understand that fear is part of the process. It's the price that must be paid for growth, for success, for becoming more than they were. Most people walk through life like they have unlimited time, as if tomorrow is promised. They talk about their dreams, their goals, and everything they wish they could be, but they never take real action. They think there will always be another chance, another opportunity, another day. The truth is, time is the only thing we don't control, and it's slipping away every second. People die with their best ideas still inside them, their greatest potential never seen by the world. They take their talents, their ambitions, and their strength to the grave because they were too scared to go all in. Comfort and fear keep them stuck in the same routine, waiting for the right moment. But the right moment never comes, and one day they wake up realizing it's too late. Regret is heavier than failure, yet most people would rather avoid short-term pain than face long-term regret. Every single second that passes is gone forever, never to be recovered. And when the final moment comes, there are no do-overs, no second chances, no negotiating with time. The biggest lie people tell themselves is that they will start tomorrow. They convince themselves that next week, next month, or next year will be different, that somehow they'll wake up more disciplined, more ready, more committed. But if today isn't the day, what makes tomorrow any different? The habit of waiting becomes a lifestyle, and before they know it, years have passed. The mind is a master manipulator, feeding on comfort and avoiding hardship. It will give every excuse to stay the same, to push things off, to take it easy. Most people listen to that voice and spend their entire lives playing small. They choose the safe path, the comfortable routine, the predictable outcome. And when the final day comes, they look back with regret, wondering what could have been. Nothing hurts more than meeting the version of yourself you could have become but didn't. It's not about what you had, it's about what you left on the table. Every person is born with a certain level of potential, but potential means nothing without action. The strongest version of you, the most disciplined, relentless, unstoppable version is real. It's just on the other side of effort and sacrifice. But effort is painful, and sacrifice requires discomfort. So most people stop before they even start. They never go beyond what's easy, never push past their own limitations, never test themselves. The body follows the mind, and if the mind is weak, the body will always quit first. People train their minds to accept mediocrity without even realizing it. They avoid suffering, so suffering controls them. They avoid failure, so failure defines them. The people who achieve the impossible aren't born special. They're just willing to embrace the pain that everyone else runs from. They understand that the price of success is discomfort, and they're willing to pay it daily. They don't wait for the perfect conditions. They create them through action. Fear is what keeps people from reaching their highest level. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. That fear is a liar. It's a story the mind tells to keep you small, to keep you weak, to keep you from stepping into who you're meant to be. The difference between those who achieve and those who don't isn't talent, it's the relationship with fear. They feel it, but move anyway. They understand that fear isn't a stop sign, it's a test, it's a question. How bad do you want it? Most people fail that test because they let fear make decisions for them. They let fear control their actions, dictate their path, and define their limits. But limits are self-imposed. What one person sees as impossible, another sees as an opportunity to prove what's possible. The only way to kill fear is by stepping into it, attacking it, proving wrong every single day. People think death is something far away, something that happens when they're old, something they don't have to worry about yet. But death doesn't follow a schedule. It doesn't wait for you to be ready to accomplish your goals, to live your dreams. It comes when it comes. And when it does, there are only two possibilities. Either you leave knowing you gave everything, or you leave full of regret. Every day is a chance to move closer to your full potential or stay stuck in the same cycle. Most people choose comfort, never realizing that comfort is the biggest thief of time. It makes people waste days, months, and years never moving forward, never taking risks, never betting on themselves. And then when the final moment arrives, they realize they never even tried. They never even scratched the surface of what they were capable of. They had the ability, but they didn't have the discipline, the mindset, or the courage to use it. The people who refuse to settle understand one thing. Life isn't about surviving. It's about maximizing. Every second has a cost, and how you spend it determines everything. Either you waste it on excuses, distractions, and meaningless comfort, or you invest it into becoming stronger, sharper, and more capable. The choice is always yours, and most people choose wrong. They choose distractions over discipline, comfort over challenge, short-term pleasure over long-term greatness. They think they have time, but time is the only thing they're running out of. The truth is, most people don't live, they just exist. They go through the motions, stuck in routines that lead nowhere, never pushing beyond their limits. Then when their time is up, they realize too late that they never really lived at all. They never truly gave everything. They never truly emptied the tank. They took more to the grave than they ever gave to life. When you reach the end, what will you see? Will you meet the version of yourself that was unstoppable, unbreakable, and willing to do whatever it took? Or will you meet a stranger, someone you could have been, but never became? That's the real afterlife. It's not about heaven or hell. It's about facing the truth of how you lived. It's about looking back and knowing without a doubt that you left nothing undone. No dreams left in your head. No words left unsaid. No potential left untapped. That's the only real success. But most people will never experience it because they live in fear, they live in hesitation, they live in excuses, they think small, act small, and then wonder why their lives never amount to more. They refuse to take risks, refuse to suffer, refuse to give it everything they have. And that's why they leave this world the same as they came into it, empty-handed, without ever experiencing their true power. Every person is given a choice in this life. They can either chase their best self relentlessly or settle for a lesser version of themselves. Most people settle, but that doesn't be you. The ones who refuse to settle understand one thing. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. Every time you hit snooze, every time you skip the work, every time you back down from a challenge, you're choosing regret. You're making the choice to let the weaker version of yourself win. That's the battle every single day. You versus you. And the truth is, most people lose that battle because they don't even fight. They let their excuses control them, let their fears decide for them, let their doubts dictate their future. But those who refuse to accept less than their best keep fighting. They push even when they don't feel like it. They keep going even when no one is watching. They demand more from themselves because they know the alternative is unacceptable. Most people die long before their heart stops beating. They stop chasing growth, stop challenging themselves, stop demanding more. They settle into routines, into comfort, into mediocrity. And then when the final moment comes, they realize they never really lived. They never really pushed, never really risked, never really gave everything. They had the time, they had the ability, but they wasted it on distractions, on comfort, on fear, and now there's no time left. That's the reality of life. It's brutal, it's unforgiving, and it does not wait. The only question is, will you use every second you have, or will you let it slip through your fingers? Most people run from pain like it's the enemy, but pain is the price of greatness. The truth is, nothing worth having comes easy. Everyone wants to be strong, successful, and unstoppable, but when it's time to suffer, they back down. They want the rewards, but not the work, the results, but not the sacrifice. Pain is what separates those who make it from those who don't. It's the toll you must pay to reach the next level. Without pain, there is no growth. Without suffering, there is no strength. Most people avoid it at all costs, thinking they can take a shortcut to success. But the shortcut doesn't exist. The only path is through the fire, through the struggle, through the moments that break most people. That's why only a few ever reach their highest potential, because most aren't willing to suffer for it. Pain is the test, and life will keep giving it to you until you pass. It will show up every time you try to level up, every time you try to push forward. Most people see pain as a sign to stop, but the strongest see it as a sign to keep going. Pain is not there to break you, it's there to reveal you. It shows you who you really are when things get hard. Anybody can work when they feel good, when they're motivated, when everything is going their way. But what about when it hurts? What about when everything in you is telling you to quit? That's when most people fold, and that's when the few who refuse to give up separate themselves. The weak seek comfort, while the strong embrace pain as the path to transformation. Most will never understand the power of suffering because they never push far enough to experience it. They quit at the first sign of struggle, thinking that discomfort means they're on the wrong path. But discomfort is the path. Growth doesn't come from doing what's easy. Strength isn't built in the moments of convenience. It's built in the moments of adversity, when your body is screaming, when your mind is telling you to. Stop when everything in you is looking for a way out. That's when the real transformation happens. But most people will never feel that level of pain because they never push hard enough to get there. They stop when it starts to hurt, not realizing that's the exact moment they need to keep going. Pain is a privilege because it means you're pushing past your old limits. It means you're breaking through barriers that once held you back. The people who achieve the impossible aren't special. They just refuse to stop when the suffering starts. They know that pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. They know that every second of discomfort is shaping them into someone stronger, someone better. someone who can endure more than the rest. That's the difference between the ones who make it and the ones who make it use pain as fuel. They take that suffering and turn it into power. Every rep, every mile, every failure, every setback, it all adds up. It all makes them unbreakable. Most people want an easy way out, but the easy way leads nowhere. The body gets weaker when it's not challenged. The mind gets softer when it's not tested. Comfort is a slow death, a trap that keeps people stuck at the same level forever. The ones who break free are the ones who make suffering their ally. They don't run from pain, they chase it. They wake up before the sun. They train when they don't feel like it. They push through exhaustion, through hunger, through doubt. They know that pain isn't a punishment, it's a gift. It's a chance to prove what they're made of, to separate themselves from the pack. Most will never experience that because they choose to